Hello everybody. I am Hokuto Kagaya from LINE DMP development team at LINE. As you can see on the slide in English, this session's title is LINE DMP using data to connect all B2B products with over 100 million users. So, when you hear LINE, besides LINE's Messenger app, what kind of services come to your mind? LINE Manga, News, or LINE Music? I think many of you think of services for consumers, for general public. However, in the reality, LINE has a lot of B2B products for business users, and many businesses are our users actually. For instance, LINE official account is services that can be used by large businesses and small shops, and by using a single LINE account, they can communicate with LINE users. LINE Ad, as the name shows, toward LINE users through various media, advertisers' content can be delivered through this programmatic advertisement platform. And by using the LINE Point, one of the biggest point media in Japan, with the LINE Point as a hook being an attractive incentive, and you can lead to service recognition by customers or user acquisitions. The biggest goal of these B2B products is to close the distance between all the companies and users. How every business can efficiently communicate with the users on LINE platform. This is what we think about in the development activities every single day. I talked about closing the distance, but how concretely and specifically we can achieve this? There are many answers to this question. From various viewpoints, in order to close distance, we are making efforts every day. In this session today, I'd like to focus on one of those answers. That is, to close the distance by utilizing data. Here at LINE, we have what we call LINE style, which is a collection of thinkings that I really like LINE. One of them is always data-driven. That is not limited to B2B products, but in general at LINE, we always use data as reasons of our actions and behaviors. That is one of our important focuses. I think many of the audience today are software engineers, so I believe you know very well about the importance of how we should utilize and treat data. Now, I would like to go back to the title of my presentation for the first time. I'd like to say a few words about LINE DMP. DMP is Data Management Platform. LINE DMP has an important mission, which is to close the distance between businesses and users by using the power of data and through data. In order to do so, various data about LINE users are extracted, counted, and processed, and through the B2B products that I mentioned earlier, provided to business users. The data, which are treated actually by LINE DMP, can be divided into three broad categories. First one is data in order to make targeting more efficient. Targeting is to identify and narrow down in advance the users for the content's delivery. To do so, attributes inferred through machine learning and user actions. Based on these various conditions, audience data are categorized and provided. And before the content's delivery, we all have tools that we provide to our business users in order to estimate how many users can be reached out. And also, LINE DMP, post-content delivery done by business users, we provide the data which can be useful for the detailed retrospective, looking back at the outcome, so the feedback data. So those are ad-click data, post-back events from advertisers' mobile apps, and also conversion data. And next one is slightly different in nature from the two previous ones. These are data for users' privacy protection, such as opt-out from ads. So part of those privacy protection data managed by DMP as well. Amongst them, I'd like to today in this session focus on the former two to give you some details about how and what kind of activities we are doing from a technical viewpoint. But before talking about the technical aspect, for the purpose of ice breaking as well, I'd like to talk about what are the scale of treating data that I mentioned. First, in order to count and measure the conversions on the web, we are offering JavaScript snippet by the line tag as a product name. And then the total number of events per day is about 1.5 billion. And then user segment data or record about the audience delivery. That's the biggest scale data on DMP, and on accumulated basis, more than 200 billion records are being stored. Well, I haven't talked much about the technical aspect, but I think with these numbers and scales, you can feel LINE DMP data a huge scale. Number of servers is over 500. And of particular note is that half of them are pure physical machines, because LINE DMP is a product mainly treating data. So many of the servers are spent for Redis HBase databases. Now, from now onwards, I'd like to give you some further details about individual data. So, data to support efficient targeting. Today, amongst them, I'd like to focus on the processing of data related to audience delivery. So, what is audience delivery? First of all, I'd like to sort this item and topic. We collect data from users and businesses. Various kinds of data are collected and then counted within the storage of the LINE DMP. And they are appropriately processed into right formats and are to be provided to various B2B products of LINE. And with this data, what kind of content should be offered to this user or that user, this judgment and decision can be helped. So that's the basic framework of audience delivery. Now, LINE B2B products can utilize various different types of audiences. I'd like to give you some specific examples. The audience, some of the audiences are accumulating data on real-time basis. There's a mobile app event installed data or categorized data based on those mobile app, and also line tag events data group and groups based on the click information of the messages from LINE official accounts. And then lookalike audience is to be focused on amongst the audiences and accumulated through batch. These are from audience information as an information source, and with machine learning, lookalike users are collected. So I'd like to give you some further details because this is of great interest, but I'm running short of time today, so this will be for more other opportunities. And also, businesses can directly upload the customer information, phone number, mail address, IDFA, AID, those identifiers, and the LINE user IDs. That type of information can be uploaded directly as list and can treat it as audience. Now, you can see a simple drawing on the right-hand side. To give you an idea of the accumulation. This is a case of line tag event audience. So user A visits advertisers X website, and within this website, event is generated, and that information of the event is accumulated in the database of DMP. And so let's call this group 001. And within this group, user A, user B, different users are to continuously be accumulated. So this is the mechanism of audience delivery, but what kind of B2B products are using it? Here, I'd like to talk about the DSP, which is a major component that uses audience delivery. DSP is a demand-side platform. It is a platform that organizes ad delivery based on various KPIs.
In LINE advertisement, the DSP will decide which ads will be delivered to the user. So this DSP should tell the media side that this is the one I picked up as an advertisement. It needs send that information as early as possible, and by showing the contents in a short, minimize the time, we can have opportunity to show the ads to the many users. So audience information is utilized by DMP Redis. So this DSP is using the Redis. So before, audience type collecting flow component directly store the data into Redis. Redis data type use the hash and each user's ID to make audience group as a field. That was the way of storing, as you can see here on this slide. So user A is audience group 1 and 2, and user B is 5 and 9. They are belonging to. So when you go to value, it shows the timestamp when this was added to this group. So DSP is saying that we want to just deliver this advertisement to the user A. So the database will get the record of the user A and then make a judgment. But there is one problem for this data structure. When DSP get this data, they use the edge keys that's acquiring the radish hash fields. But since the service is expanding, sometimes one user belongs to the large number of a group, like 5,000 or cases. So the data is increasing, and the edge keys latency became a problem on the DSP side. It is not meeting the speed requirement. So in order to improve this, LINE DMP conducted the benchmarking for data storing method. And that is a Redis string. And user ID is a key, and the value is the key is the user ID. And for value, we serialize the audience group by message type and store it. So this is a result of the benchmark. Creating the single node Redis, and then message pack and string use cases were compared. So vertically, the time shows the time, and horizontally shows the number of the audience group per user. So we took the average of the 1,000 trials for this data. When you look at the graph, if the number of the group is small, there's no much difference in the execution time. But if the number becomes larger, then difference is getting bigger. So this is a very simple Redis command execution time comparison. Please understand that. Well, in case of the new method, the get is faster and simple, and then that would give the load to the set side. If a user record needs to be updated, first we need to get the data from Redis and deserialize the original data and put the new ID and serialize it and then set it again. We have to go through this procedure. And in our architecture, this process must be done atomically. Because the storing points for audience data into Redis are distributed. And I think there are multiple solutions for this issue. And our first approach was Redis Lua scripting. Redis Lua scripting is to combine any Redis command and any Lua process to make it as one atomic command so that it can be executed on the Lua interpreter embedded in Redis server. And this feature is available from Redis 2.6. So this is just an image. Using the Lua snippet, we try to do this process. I want to go through the details about the code. But unfortunately, this was very slow, and it gave the impact to the Redis process as a whole. Because Redis is adapting the single-thread model, message pack serialized deserialization is requiring a lot of resources. That's what we thought. So finally, we came to this architecture. So each audience process says that this user is added to this group. That information goes to Kafka, and we have the component called the audience indexer, and the audience indexer would put it in Redis. So Kafka's key should become the audience ID. So if the key is equal, it can go to the same partition in Kafka. So if we implement it, the Kafka consumer, in the case of the audience indexer, to the same key, the same thread will be processed, and to the same key, get the set that would not taking place at the same time. So regarding the data update, the command group atomic should not be guaranteed. And then as a secondary effect, audience indexer will have all these processes so that we can reduce the load to the Redis through the global traffic management. Well, I've been talking about the problem of the data accumulation in audience delivery and how to solve that problem. So let's summarize. In this audience accumulation, we had to provide the multifaceted fixes. First, we need to change the data structure. From hash to strings, it needs to be changed. So the get latency can be significantly improved. And the data processing was also changed. We used to store it Redis directly, but now it goes through the Kafka. So the set procedure becomes much simpler. I have come back to this slide. So from now on, I would like to talk about the data that can be the feedback for the effective review. Particularly in terms of the data accumulation, I would like to talk about the conversion data aggregation. So many people might know, but I want to talk about the term of conversion. In the advertisement world, conversion means that you change just the visitor to the customer. So furthermore, they're going to install the application, buy the products, and make the service account. So they're going to do the favorable behaviors for you. That is a conversion. So user, if they see the advertisement, let's look at how many users would take a look at have gone the conversion. That is conversion rate, CBR. So if you want to making some service, you would like to increase the rate of the conversion, right? So how can you increase the rate of conversion? In order to do that, we need to measure the current CBR. Well, conversion, there are many types of conversion. Think of the flyer of the supermarket. You receive it and look at that and go to the supermarket and buy the product. That is a conversion by the flyer. And LINE DMP is looking at the online conversion, and furthermore, the web conversion and the mobile app conversion. So web conversion, in order to measure that, we need to use the line tag JavaScript snippet. We have mentioned this many times. And as a general measurement tag, they can put it in the website tag.
On the other hand, in terms of conversions within mobile app, well, users click an ad, may install another app or purchase as an in-app purchase within these apps. Those events are measured. For both of them, DMP can do the measurement. And today I would like to focus on web conversion because this is a more interesting topic from a technical viewpoint, so that I can share you with how the actual flow is followed for the measurement. So now I'd like to redefine once again specifically the conversion on the web conversion. So the users who click the LINE ad ignited the line tag event, which is placed as a converting page for that advertiser. That converting page is, for instance, a purchase completion page with the line tag placed. That's one example. So broadly speaking, counting the total number of clicks, counting that line tag events. So there are two flows, as you can see. For each of them, I'd like to discuss how the LINE DMP does the counting specifically. First of all, from the click side. This is an accounting of dividers and based on the conversion rate definition. When the ad is clicked, by inserting the redirector, click information is acquired. The redirector is a simple web application. Click log then is going to be stored in Redis. And also with two keys, almost identical contents are stored and saved. So one of them is connected to the redirector's domain burnt cookie. So that's a unique ID, click ID. And the other is the click ID, which is a unique ID unique for individual clicks one by one. And this is issued by redirector. Every time a click events happens, I will explain later on why saving are done this way with two different keys. Now, part which is a denominator. This is actual measurements of the actual conversions. Maybe even if a conversion happens, perhaps unfortunately this is not via LINE ad. So I just would like to focus on the conversion measurements of the users who click the LINE ad. So when users visits a conversion page with a line tag, and a line tag event is sent to DMP component. This let's call it a conversion pipeline for now. Conversion pipeline checks the conditions about the conversion, and then if the past click after search is found, it is saved in the database as a conversion log. This is the flow of the conversion measurement. I'd like to deep dive, but before that, I'd like to talk about the cookie. As you know, cookie have domains to which they belong, but they can be divided into two kinds, and depending on for what kind of domains cookie are issued. One is the website domains visited by users. So these are the cookies directly burned on the domain displayed on the browser's address bar. So that's called a first-party cookie. And cookies owners are the same as the website owners in general. The other kind is the third-party cookies. These are different cookies than first-party cookies. Specifically speaking, those are burned on the different domains which are different from the domains being looked at by users and read into iframe or img tag. And they are heavily used for tracking of web ads. For instance, if you access to example.com domain, first-party cookie is burned on the example.com, and third-party cookies are burned on other different domains. And then in this presentation, when I talk about the first-party cookies, these are basically burnt on advertisers' domains, and third-party cookies are burnt on LINE's domains. Based on this, in the reality, how we are going to pull the logs of the clicks relating to the relevant users. LINE DMP uses in a composite manner a certain number of methods. As I talked about earlier, redirector with two different kinds of data as keys, it is saving data. The first one is click ID. So this is unique ID issued by redirector for every single click. So when is it used? If the landing page, the page visited initially after clicking the ad, if that's the conversion page, then by using this, a click can be searched directly. Next is the third-party cookie. These cookies issued by LINE ad servers such as a redirector. From the viewpoint of advertisers, of course, LINE domain is not their own domain, so they are third-party cookies. However, Apple, with a feature called ITP, Intelligence Tracking Protection, third-party cookies are blocked as default on Safari, and Google announced that in 2020, abolition of third-party cookie support on Chrome. So third-party cookie as a mechanism is almost disappearing in the reality. So as an alternative, at the LINE DMP, first-party cookie-based measurement is also supported. So these are the cookies connected to advertisers' domains, and they are generated in JavaScript. Now there is one concern here. As I earlier explained, the director, I talked about the first-party cookies and the third-party cookies as two different keys for data saving. So currently, LINE DMP for first-party cookies doesn't have a mapping. Therefore, for first-party cookie, we adopted a method to map them onto lazy. And this sequence diagram shows the flow of it. First of all, as a necessary condition to do the tracking based on first-party cookie for advertisers, not only conversion pages, but also the landing pages need to have a line tag. Based on that, so users click the ad. Then, as I mentioned earlier, at this point in time, redirector issues a unique ID called click ID, and based on this key, the data is to be saved in the database, and the click ID will be sent to the advertiser's landing page as a query parameter. When the user visits the landing page, first the line tags issues a first-party cookie in JavaScript, and the click ID, which was sent previously as a query parameter, they are combined in one single set to be sent to the front end, which is the line tags receptive part of event. And it is now this event is proxied, and DMP component which receives it looks for click data based on the click ID that is in the event information of its tag. If it is found, now this mapping handler holds two kinds of mappings: click ID, click log, and click ID first-party cookie. And now, by using them, the combination of first-party cookie log can be written back to the database. This is the flow of mechanism to map the first-party cookie onto lazy.
So when we think of this line tag front end event process, we have to have two of them. So one is first-party cookie and the click log mapping process. Another one is, as I explained, the conversion measurement related process. So when we think of the user's behavior, subflow 1, lazy mapping part, should go first. Because once a user click the ads, go to the landing page, and then go to the conversion page quickly. Then at the time of the measurement, first party cookie and the click log mapping should be there in the database already. So this is a very difficult problem, and there could be multiple solutions to it. LINE DMP thought of the cost and the benefit balance. So subflow 2, conversion measurement subflow, should have some latency. So to be more specific, the subflow 2, at the bottom, is divided, and then each tag event will have the handler conversion condition matcher to make the judgment, and the click log search handler, click log finder, it says here. So those should be connected using Kafka. And then the click log search handler will receive the event from the Kafka. But before that, we insert a certain latency. And by doing so, although it's a best effort, subflow 2 can take place as later as possible from subflow 1. Okay. So finally, I would like to talk about the data, which is slightly different from other data. So in order to protect the user's privacy and respect their choices, that's why we have this data. So we have been talking about the accumulation and the processes of the data, various data, and these information is used internally and managed very, very well. At the LINE, we have several measures to do the advertisement opt-out, and the DMP is managing that data in order to protect the user's choice and respect them. This is a very, very important data. So protecting users' privacy and providing the good quality contact to the enterprises is one of the very important mission for DMP. Well, my presentation is coming to the end, so let's talk about the future of the LINE DMP. LINE DMP would have two directions in the future. The first one is a cross-platform idea. LINE DMP is there for the LINE advertisement. It started like that, and the B2B product data was handled independently. Individually, but recently there are so many B2B products, so people would like to utilize the data on a cross-platform way. And there are several examples. The first one is the cross-targeting. So the data of the LINE official account, like a click or a message, and the audience will be utilized. Then the delivery would be done on the LINE advertisement side. So one of the targeting is already provided, but we would like to add more options to it in the future. And cross-product utilization should be done, and then we should have the very effective feedback and have the optimum budget allocation. We would like to have a cross-product report function. And another one is a cookie and IDFE, AAID now going away. And what kind of measure should we take? That's the next point. So third-party cookie and identifiers are becoming less and less, and we need to protect the user's privacy. And how can we provide the contact point to the enterprises? So we are thinking all this, how we can survive this trend. So LINE login is the way, we should utilize the LINE social login data. And finally, let me talk about my team. The DMP has one manager and the 3 server-side engineers, including myself, and then 1 front-side engineer. So total 4.5 people in a team. And in terms of the data scale, we are handling a large volume of data. So from a planning stage, we do have the close communication with the planning team to do the project. And this is my personal thought. The good thing about the LINE DMP team is that the engineer can enjoy 2 challenges at the same time. Since this has a very big business impact, so we have to face the very difficult requirements, and we have to think how we can meet those requirements as a system. So my presentation is talking about a lot of business side topics, because in the development of the DMP, we always have to have the business mind, and that's very important. And the data is very large, and the system gets more and more complicated, and the architecture gets complicated. So the technical topic is just one example I showed you today. And in addition to that, we are challenging the technical issues every day. And it's worth while working as an engineer, although we have a lot of challenges. And finally, this is the summary. So B2B product, we have the common goal is closing the distance between enterprises and the users. That's closing distance we call. So LINE DMP would like to support that with the power of data. So specifically, we have the following kinds of data and then handle them in a large traffic. So in order to have the efficient communication, we have the data. And we have the very detailed and sophisticated data to make the review as efficient, and data to protect the user's privacy and respect their choices. And in handling these data, we have the complicated business requirement, and then engineering challenges. We need to tackle those things. There are so many things we would like to do, and we still have many challenges. If you are interested in hearing this presentation, please come and join the team. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.